and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Shan and you're very welcome. As you can tell by the title, today's video is basically going to be me explaining some of my top tips to get a first in your degree. So if you don't know, I studied English and History at Queen's University in Belfast, and I did actually come out with a first in my degree, which I was absolutely over the moon with. And I do get a lot of questions all the time of like, how did you do that while still sort of having a social life, still doing YouTube and stuff like that? How do you balance uni and YouTube, all that sort of stuff? So I thought I'd just share some of my top tips for getting a first in your degree while also maintaining a bit of free time.
2, 3, funk it.
Okay, so I have written out my top 10 tips for getting a first in your degree, and I'm just gonna go through them with you and sort of explain what worked for me. Just a disclaimer, these tips may not work for absolutely everyone, as everyone's different, everyone learns differently, everybody works better in different environments, but this is just what personally worked for me and how I ended up achieving a first. Also, sorry if I do keep looking down, I have them all written in this book, so yeah, I might be reading them out as I sort of go through them. So yeah, my first tip is to be engaged in class. So a lot of people at university think, oh, classes aren't compulsory, you don't have to go. But it really does have a detrimental impact on your grade. One, a lot of universities take 10% of your grade from your class attendance, which if you're sitting on like a border, that 10% could actually make a difference to your overall grade. So yeah, like why do something, why lose those marks by doing something so stupid as like not going to class? Like if you have a valid excuse for not going to class, send the tutor an email and they'll be fine with it. There's no point losing those marks when it's such easy marks to gain. Going to class is also really important because it's where you take your notes. It's also like a place where I really found that if something was said in a lecture, depending like how it was said, it could be really memorable for me, and then that would then be useful later on down the line when I'm writing an assignment. So I can't really think of a specific example right now, but when, like, say the lecturer makes a joke about a certain aspect of the lecture, then that's going to be memorable, it's going to stick in your head, and then you're going to remember it when you're doing an assignment. So yeah, it's actually really important to go to your lectures and your classes. It's an opportunity to talk to your tutor, ask questions if you're not clear on what you're doing, and yeah, classes are just a great time to like really get into what you're learning and make it memorable for when you're doing your assignments. My second tip is kind of split into two pieces, but yeah, it's basically just be organised. So first I want to say is be organised with your time. As I said, this video is kind of about getting a first when you want to have free time as well. So what I would say is plan when you want your free time to be. For me, I wanted my free time to fit around when my boyfriend wasn't in work. So he works full time, and for me it was like, I want to spend my Saturdays with him. So I always made sure to have my work done for a Saturday so I could take a Saturday off and just go somewhere, go out for the day with my boyfriend. Do you know what I mean? So plan when you want to have your free time so then you can sort of schedule your work around that and get it done on time. It also really motivates you to get the work done and get as much done in a certain amount of time as possible. That's also a really great thing for when you're going for a job, because it shows that you can work to time restrictions and work to deadlines and everything like that. Also, on the topic of be organised with your time, I would say don't leave all your assignments to the last minute, especially when it comes to doing your dissertation. You need to be working on that from literally the start of the year. Like, you need to be organised with that to get all of your thoughts clear in your head. You're going to have so many drafts of your dissertation that, yeah, your work just evolves over time, and starting earlier then will have a better outcome at the end. You're going to be much more happy with what you submit, and it's probably going to be a much better standard of work. Starting earlier also gives you the time to check over your work as well. Just make sure you haven't made any stupid mistakes, but I'll come on to that a bit later. My second point in be organised is to be organised with your work and your notes. So I would always write my lecture notes up and then organise them by week into my folder, and that just makes it a lot easier for when you're doing your assignments, that if you're looking for a certain topic, then you can just go straight to that week and your notes are all right there, rather than having them like scattered all over the place and having to waste time shuffling through them. It saves you time that way and more time to actually do your work. Okay, so tip number 3, I think. Yes, tip number 3 is limit distractions. So say you're going to the library, yeah, you can go with friends, but just make sure that you're going with friends who are actually going to be motivated to work. Don't go with friends who are going to want to sit and have a laugh the whole time you're in the library, because if you do that, you're going to fool yourself into thinking you've done a lot of work when in actual fact you've just been messing around with your friends. Yeah, it's great, like uni's a great social time and all, and like it's nice to like see your friends, but if that's what you want to do, then meet up and go for a coffee and then go to the library afterwards to actually do your work. If you're doing your work at home, then I have a great app that's called Hold, and basically you just put it on a timer, so you can't use your phone for 20 minutes it goes through, and for each 20 minutes you get 10 points, and then you can redeem those points for money off vouchers and stuff like that. So that was a great motivator for me to not go on social media, not scroll through Instagram while I was trying to do uni work, and yeah, it stops procrastination as well. Okay, so tip number 4 is take breaks and don't burn yourself out. So I see a lot of like study tubers doing these 15-hour study days. For me, that just does not work. I did something like that when I was doing my GCSEs, and I think it had a detrimental impact on my grades. Not that I achieved grades I was happy with at GCSE, but I honestly think I could have achieved better grades if I'd given myself the time to take breaks and just allow my brain to like reset. So what I basically want to say is, if you're working 15 hours straight, your brain is literally just going to stop taking in information. You're going to be reading, but you're not actually going to be taking in what you're reading. Whereas if you say work for 4 hours, take a break. Well, that's a bit excessive. Like, I would normally work for like an hour and a half, depending on what I'm doing. Like, it depends how into your work you are. So like, yeah, say you work for 4 hours and then go for lunch. Once you come back from lunch, you'll feel much more energized and ready to get back into the work again. Like, that's why in the workplace they have break time and lunch time, because they know people can't work for that amount of time straight. Also, as I said, I like to have my free time on a Saturday. I also like to take a few evenings just to chill and not even think about work, because if you're just constantly thinking about your uni work, you're just not going to produce the standard that you probably could produce if your brain was a lot less frazzled, I suppose. I don't really know how to put it. If your brain has time to rest, like, honestly, if your brain's overworked, it's not going to produce the best work that you can. I also just want to say that working too hard and burning yourself out is not only bad for your grades, it'll also be bad for your health, and you'll end up exhausting yourself and probably making yourself sick. So do work hard, but not to the point of exhaustion. Okay, so tip number 5 is to choose modules and topics that you are genuinely interested in. This can't always be completely possible. I had to pick modules that I maybe wouldn't have wanted to pick, but then when I got into it, I actually really enjoyed it. And within a module, there's always going to be a point that is going to be of more interest to you. Where did that come out? That is going to be of more interest to you than maybe other points. So do pick like an essay question, module, topic, whatever that is going to be of interest to you. And especially when it comes to your dissertation, pick something that you have a genuine interest in, because it's going to make, as I said, your dissertation is between like 6 months and 9 months long. So you want to be doing something that, not 6 months, sorry, like, I don't know, like it's an extended piece of work. So you're not going to be wanting to work on something for that long that you're just not at all interested in. Pick something that's going to inspire you, that you're going to be passionate about, and that you can bring a bit of nuance to, that you can be original about. Especially like if you're writing about something that you're interested in, you can put in your own opinion as long as you're backing it up, and it makes it a lot more original, and it makes the reader, who is going to be marking your work, a lot more interested in what they're reading. And yeah, being interested in what you're actually learning will also help you remember what you've learned when it comes to doing your assignments. So say if you're doing a module and you're learning about something that you're actually interested in, you probably will find that easier to then reproduce a piece of work on, rather than like, say you're just like, say if I was doing science, because I'm not interested in it, I would sit in that class and just not take it in, because it's just not my thing. So yeah, like I wouldn't be able to reproduce a high standard of work in that class, because I just wouldn't put my heart and soul into it. Okay, so tip number 6 is be specific. If you're answering an essay question, you need to focus on what's relevant to the question rather than like deviating from that. No matter how interesting you find the information, there's like no point including something that's just not going to be that relevant to what you're being asked. Yeah, there's no point getting like a 1000-page book. So basically I did my dissertation on Oscar Wilde and his satire. While I could have went and read a whole biography on Oscar Wilde and wasted all that time doing that, it wouldn't have been relevant to the work I was producing. You don't have that much time to do your work at uni overall, so you don't have time. I didn't have time to read everything about Oscar Wilde, so I had to focus on satire. I did most of my reading around that, and then read short biographies about his life to give me a bit of context into what he was doing and why he may have used his satire in that way. So yeah, it's basically just focusing on your specific topic rather than deviating and going from a broad angle, if that makes sense. Okay, so tip number 7. Yeah, tip number 7 is pretty similar to tip number 6. It's, yeah, just focus on the question. Make sure you read the essay question. This is a mistake I actually made in my second year. I got too into, so I'll try and explain what it was. We kind of had to make up like our own topic, and we had to pick 2 historic figures to write about, but the question had to relate to the themes of the module. So I didn't really take that on board as much, and I focused more on my 2 biographical figures, or my 2 historical figures, sorry, and then that affected my grade and I ended up with a grade I wasn't so happy with in that module. So yeah, it's just focusing on the question, making sure that you're answering the question, using the terms of the question in your essay, and that will actually really boost up your mark and really help you with writing an essay as well. So yeah, it's really helpful for your structure and everything like that. But yeah, that's just something I've learned from that. One of the most important things when writing an essay is answering the question, as obvious as that sounds. Sometimes the question isn't completely obvious. Just make sure that you are tailoring your essay to that question. And yeah, unfortunately, no matter how interesting you find a piece of information, if it's not relevant to the question, there's no point including it, because you're just wasting your word count. You only have a limited amount of words, and it will again negatively affect your grade. Okay, so tip number 8 is just to communicate with your tutors. So yeah, basically your tutors are there to give you a helping hand. If you have any questions about an assignment or literally about anything you've learned in class, if it's not clear to you, then just go to them to clarify it for you, because they're there to help you at the end of the day and they're going to be happy to do so. Again, when it comes to your dissertation, you'll have a supervisor, so make sure you're planning meetings with them, emailing them if you need help, taking their critiques and criticism on board, and then renewing your drafts accordingly, because they're the expert in the field and they know what they're talking about. Even if you're not 100% sure if you agree, have a discussion with them and you can put forward what you believe, they can put forward where you may be seeing things incorrectly. Yeah, just take on board what they're saying. If you really do strongly believe that you're right, you can always go to a different tutor and get an outside opinion. But yeah, do just listen to your tutors and engage with them and make them do their jobs. Basically, like, they're there to help you, so just make sure they do and they'll be happy enough to. Okay, so tip number 9 is get your books from the library early. If you leave it to 1 or 2 weeks before your assignment is due to get your books from the library, you're not going to get them. Like, that's the cold hard truth. You're not going to get the books if you leave it to near the deadline of the assignment, because everyone is probably looking for the same books. I found throughout university that on certain modules people will tend to do the same question. Like, the majority of the class will probably answer the same question, because there will be one that is probably more clear to answer than the rest. So yeah, just make sure you go and get your books early, because if you leave it to the last minute, you're not going to get them, and there could be information in there that's super important to what you're doing and you don't want to miss out on that. Okay, so finally on to tip number 10, and that is just to present your work well. So make sure your grammar is good, your referencing is good, your spelling's good. Read over your work to make sure you haven't made any stupid mistakes that could pull your mark down for no other reason than just not checking it, which also links into getting your work done early, because then that'll give you time to check over it. And yeah, if you need maybe some help with your grammar or your structure or your essay writing, your uni probably will have an essay writing workshop or something that you can go to and get some help. If not, you can always go to your tutors and just say, hey look, I'm just not 100% sure of how to word this, could you maybe help me? And especially when it comes to your dissertation, because you've got so many drafts, your supervisor will help you with like sentence structure and everything like that, which is actually really important when it comes to completing an essay. So yes, that is my top 10 tips for achieving first at university. I hope you found this helpful, and as I said at the start, these might not be for everyone. As I said, everyone learns differently and works better in different environments, but this is just what worked for me. And yeah, I really hope that it was helpful, and if you have any more tips, please do let me know in the comments down below, because I'm doing my master's, so I'll take any tips that I can get from other people. And yeah, thank you so much you guys for watching. I would love it if you could give this video a massive thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe, because I make lots of uni videos. I know a lot of people found me through my uni videos, so yeah, if you're a student, make sure to hit the subscribe button, because I'll be making a lot of uni content throughout the next year. And yeah, I love you guys so much, and I will see you soon for a brand new vlog. Bye!